Hey guys, welcome back to my guides. Today we'll be talking about Thor and his matchups. Sorry I haven't made a video in a while, but I'm back. Alright, let's get right into it. So Thor support is very interesting. He has a ton of damage in the early game, and he also has pretty decent peel in the late game. He does lack a little bit of tankiness, but other than that, I think he's really strong. So his passive, for every enemy god that's around him, he gains 15 physical power and it stacks up to 3 times. So that makes him really powerful in the early game. His one, Mjolnir's attunement, is a hammer. He throws it and then he can teleport to it, and it does tons of damage if it hits them twice, because it could hit them when it goes out and it hits them when it comes back. So it's really good use for poking in lane and even poking in the late game. His second ability is Tectonic Rift. Whenever he throws this ability out, he makes a wall. If it hits you, it stuns you, and then it also can block you. It's not as tall as Ymir's wall, but it's a little longer than Ymir's wall. His third ability is Berserker Barrage. Berserker Barrage lets Thor spin around, and he just does tons of damage when he's doing this ability, and he's also immune to knockups, so it makes him really good against Sylvanas. I'll get into that later. But it falls off late game. His last ability is his ultimate, Anvil of Dawn. When Thor goes up into the air and then he crashes down, when he hits opponents, he stuns them, and he does pretty good damage. Alright, let's get right into it. So, Arachne is interesting against Thor because Thor does have enough damage to kill Arachne, but it has to be in a burst off his ultimate, but you're never gonna really hit your ultimate. So Arachne is like really good against Thor. So pretty much with Arachne's venomous bite, if Arachne gets that off in a fight, she's gonna beat you because she's gonna heal, and then she could also stun out your Berserker Barrage with her Cocoon ability. And she's also pretty good at chasing you down if she can web you after you hammer. And if you're hammering her for damage, that's the only way you can kill her too, because of her heal. She can just web you and chase you down. So Thor is not good against Arachne. And also when you're ganking her, when she's soloing, she can just ult out of your ult. So that's one bad thing. And same within the jungle, if you're trying to get her at her speed buff, if you're the support and you want to ult from lane or something, she can just ult out of your ult. Alright, the next god is Baka. Thor's okay against Baka as long as Bakasura's not focusing Thor and Thor comes from behind him, or he comes in with an ult on top of him and Baka doesn't have any CC immunity off the ult. Thor can get his damage off in Baka, he'll kill Baka, but if Baka's hitting you as a support Thor, you don't have enough damage to completely burst him right away. Maybe in the early game, maybe like levels 1 through 5, but in the mid game, if you don't sneak up on him or if you don't ult in on him, he's going to beat you in a one-on-one fight with his ultimate and his Butcher Blades. Same thing with Bastet, because Bastet's ult will pretty much shred you, same with your Pounce and Razor Whip. So if she jumps and then you come in behind her after she jumps back and wastes her jump, you can kill her pretty easily. Alright, so Fenrir is a skill matchup because you could stun Fenrir out of his Brutalize, and Fenrir can also stun you out of your Berserker Barrage with his Unchained, but Unchained's pretty hard to hit. That's his jump when you're spinning and moving around, so it's just really a skill matchup. It could go either way. In lane, I'd say Fenrir would probably beat Thor still, if it was support v support, depending on how the matchup was played. Humbats, same thing with Baka and Bastet, but it's a little easier than those two gods because he only has his jump. If his ultimate isn't up, you can pretty much walk up to him and just kill him from behind. He's pretty easy to kill. Kali's kind of hard because she has her ultimate and she could also stun you out of your Berserker Barrage, so Thor is pretty bad against Kali. She also has a jump, so Thor isn't good against Kali. Thor is alright against Loki. Once it gets to the late game, Loki will be fine against Thor because he's gonna be so fast and he's also gonna have so much damage. It doesn't even matter. But in the early game, you could try to stun him out of his stealth, and you could do more damage than he can do to you. So Thor's pretty good against Loki. Mercury, Thor's really good against Mercury. Same thing with Humbats. Like he's a little bit weaker than Bastet and Baka against Thor. So if he dashes ever, or even if he doesn't dash, if you just walk up behind him and he dashes away, and then you hammer into him and spin, he's gonna die in the mid game pretty much. So Thor is pretty good against like squishy assassin jungles with not the best mobility. So that gets into Neza. Neza's kind of like a skill matchup too with Fenrir. He doesn't have that much mobility. If Neza doesn't hit the sash on Thor, if she sashes in to hit one of your other teammates, you're gonna kill her because she has no way to peel your Berserker Barrage, and she has no way to get away unless she ults you or ults out. So Thor's pretty good against Neza. Against Nemesis, she has a double dash, and she also has her Retribution. It's another skill matchup. It's harder than the Fenrir skill matchup and the Neja skill matchup for sure, because you have to stun the Retribution, which is the shield, and you also have to save your hammer for when she dashes out. So it's a lot of patience when you're fighting a Nemesis. She will beat you definitely in the mid game when she has like rank 2 for ultimate. Like at level 9, you're not gonna be able to beat her unless she really misplays. Then there's Serket. I'd like to believe that Thor is pretty good against Serket, but her Cobra's Kiss just interrupts your Berserker Barrage, and then she has all the escapes. So if you ever run into a Serket with all her mobility down somehow and she Cobra Kiss one of your other teammates, you can kill her, but if she has everything up, it's going to be really hard to kill her. And she'll probably save stuff if she knows that you're around the area. Maybe if you ult in on her after she uses her ambush to get out, that would probably be the best way to kill her. Next guy is Thanatos. Thor can definitely beat Thanatos. It's just a little scary because Thanatos has a little burst, but I feel like Thor does more damage than Thanatos, so you can just outburst him and kill him. It's just an easier version of Mercury and Humbats. Assassin supports really tend to do well against Thanatos, Humbats, and Mercury for some reason. And the reason that some reason is that they do a ton of damage to them, and they don't really have that much mobility in the early game, so you can just take advantage of that. Alright, let's go to Warriors. So, if the Warrior's in lane and he's supporting, Thor tends to do well against them because they want to tend to fight back. Especially Odin, like, we'll get into that. But Chalk has really good wave clear, and if he's using his abilities to wave clear and not hit you in lane, you could probably kill him with your Hunter pretty easily. It's just you gotta be careful and not get hit by his axe and his wave when he's clearing the wave at the same time. When he has his Storm Call, he definitely can't peel your Berserker Barrage off, but until then, you're really strong against him, and also the Storm Call is the ultimate, so it has a pretty long cooldown. It's 90 seconds, so he's only going to be able to stop you every 90 seconds. Once he builds up a lot of armor, that's when you're not going to be able to kill him. And in the solo lane, if he's against a mage and he's building magic defense, you can kill him pretty easily. And that goes for all the warriors. It's just a rule of thumb. Like if they're building magic defense and you're playing a support that's a warrior or an assassin, and you gank the solo lane when you have a mage on your team, it's going to be pretty easy to kill for you guys. The next guy's Guan Yu. Guan can get stunned out when he's in his Talu Assault, which is his 3. And his dash isn't too great to get away, so until Guan gets not magic resist, physical protection, he's not going to be able to live from Thor. As a soul laner, you probably will never be able to kill Hercules even if he's building magic defense, but in lane, if he has like Watcher's Gift and just potions, you'll be able to kill him in the early game, but once he hits like level 5 and hits like his first couple items, like his first piece of salve, like Iron Mail, it's going to be hard to kill him. The next guy's Odin. Odin likes to jump into the wave, so when he jumps into the wave, you could just turn and kill him. Like, he'll clear the wave, but he'll have no escape and he'll have no damage up. And maybe a couple of melees will be left, so all the minions won't be on you instantly, They will be eventually because you're hitting him, but you could burst him down fast enough in the early levels. And then also in the later game, you could hammer out of his ult, you could ult out of his ult. There's just many ways to get out of his ultimate, and you could also stun out his jump if you stun right as he hits the ground. So that means it cancels his jump, but his shield still goes off. You can do that with a lot of gods. Next god's Osiris. Kind of the same thing. If you see him in the soul lane and he has magic resist, you can kill him. If he has physical protection, you're not going to be able to kill him. He's almost as tanky as Hercules, I would say. But once he gets his first piece of physical protection, you're not going to be able to kill him anymore. And then same thing with Herc and Osiris. But if you see him in the duo lane as a support, you can kill him if he only has like Watchers or in boots. The next god's Tyr. Thor does really well against Tyr because he's immune to knockups. So if the Tyr is building magic resist, you'll be able to kill him pretty easily, and there's no way he can kill you because you just save your Berserker Barrage from when he fearlesses you in red stance because he can't knock you up or knock you back. The next god is Vamana, and Thor does okay against this god. His Colossal Fury makes him really, really tanky. If he's building magic resist, Thor can kill him, but if he's not, he can't kill him. Alright, let's get on to the Guardians. So Thor does really well against Guardians, so that's why I like to bring him into the support role. Against Ares, if the Ares is good on his chains, Ares is going to win the lane, but Ares has to be amazing on his chains, and he has to play safe in the early game. If he comes up to the wave at all, at level 2, Ares is going to die. Thor's also really, really good against Athena. His Berserker Barrage goes through her passive, which is her blocking things, and then Thor can get taunted out of his Berserker Barrage, but by the time Athena taunts, she'll have to turn around, taunt you, so at least 2 or 3 ticks of your Berserker Barrage will go off before she actually hits you with the taunt. So the taunt's irrelevant in lane. It's going to be really useful against you in the mid to late game, but in lane, Thor is really, really good against Athena. Once you get Magi's, Thor is also good in the late game. Thor's already against Bacchus. Bacchus can burp you out of your spin, which kind of sucks, and he has a lot of burst damage, so you just have to be careful. But until he's level 5, you can just take full advantage of Bacchus. Thor against Cabrakan. Cabrakan has 2 stuns, and he also has a lot of burst damage. I haven't really played this matchup too often, so I actually don't know how it will go. But I'm assuming that Cabrakan would probably win it because of all the stuns and all the burst damage he has, especially when he hits level 5 with his ultimate's burst. Thor's good against Geb 2 because Geb's 2 knocks up, so when he's spinning, he's immune to knockups, so he can't get knocked up, and it's pretty easy to kill him. Once Geb hits level 5, he can ult and keep himself alive from the spin. He also has his shield, and he also has the roll, but Thor can stun out his roll. So once Geb starts scaling up, like into the late game, he can live against Thor, but in the early game, Thor is going to take full advantage of him. Thor against Hades, Hades is going to get wrecked. It's the same thing with Odin. He dashes the wave to clear it. Thor's just going to go on him, kill him as he's running back to his teammate because he has that much damage in the early game. Against Kumba, Kumba does have the Mez to break his Berserker Barrage, but Kumba's only wave clear is Throwback, which is his only escape as well. So if he's wanting the wave, you could just go on him. You don't even need to spin, you just auto attack him. You could even rank your hammer up in this lane against him and just poke him out. And also when he tries to clear the wave, you just auto attack him. So Kumba has to play really safe. He can be okay against Thor, but if he's up in the middle of the lane ever, trying to use his 1 to wave clear, you're gonna kill him. Sobek against Thor. Thor does really, really well against Sobek because Sobek's 2 is a knockup. He's immune when he's spinning, so there's no way for Sobek to really peel when he's Berserker Barraging except using his Charge Prey, but that could be hard to hit if he's going on you, and you also don't want to use your only escape ability to interrupt something. The next guy is Sylvanas, and Thor actually does really, really well against Sylvanas, and Sylvanas is pretty popular right now in ranked and stuff because he's really, really strong. Because Sylvanas has really, really good lane sustain and really, really good wave clear, and his ultimate also is a knock up, so Thor's immune to it when he's spinning. So the only way to really hurt people with really, really good lane sustain in the duo lane is to kill them. So is to go all in, and Thor's really, really, really good at all inning, so he can all in Sylvanas and kill him. And Sylvanas has no way of escaping either. He has his root and his passive root to get you off him, but yeah, that's not gonna be enough. The next god's Ymir. Ymir's Frost Breath is a stun, and it stuns Thor off of him, and that's pretty good. And he also has his wall, so if Thor already used his hammer and he walls him and starts ulting, he could kill him. So Ymir does pretty well against Thor. In the early game, Thor's gonna win because Thor's pretty much gonna beat everybody in the early game except maybe like a Fenrir if Fenrir stuns his Berserker Barrage, but everybody else Thor is gonna just demolish in the early game. Alright, so let's go into mages. Ao Kuang does pretty bad against Thor because it's the same thing with Humbats and stuff, but once it gets to late game, he can kill him. Agni has his dash, which can be blocked by Thor's wall, so Thor does pretty well against Agni. And you could also burst Agni down really quick. Thor does pretty well against mages in general. Same with the thing with Anubis, you could stun out his Plague of the Locust, and then you could also dodge his Mummify with your hammer teleport. And you just do more damage than he does damage to you because you stun out his only damage ability. He can kill you if his ult's up, but that's if his ult's up. Aphrodite does okay against Thor. She could stun you out of his kiss. If you're ganking Afro and she kissed somebody else already, you can definitely kill her because you have enough damage to kill her through her heals. It's kind of the same thing with Sylvanas, but she does have her ultimate, which can keep her alive as well. Chang'e can live against Thor. She has her ultimate. She has a lot of movement speed with her passive, but Thor can kill her, especially if her two's down. Or if you, some Chang'es don't even like to rank their two in the early game and rank it later on. So if she doesn't have her two, Thor could definitely kill her. Thor doesn't have enough damage to kill Kronos. He could get stunned out of his Berserker Barrage by stop time, and also when you burst Kronos to like 1 HP, your supports, you're only gonna have Midas Boots. You're not gonna be able to kill a Kronos because of Midas Boots in time before he gets his ultimate off. So you'll get him really low, and then he'll be able to ult. So Thor is pretty bad as support against Kronos. Against Freya in the early game, Thor does exceptionally well, but once it hits late game, you're just gonna get kited and two-shotted by Freya. So I don't like to pick Thor when there's a Freya on the other team as support. Thor does really, really well against Hebo. You can poke him out. His water spout can't knock you up, and you can kill him very easily. He can ult away or even kill you, turn around and kill you, but you should have enough damage in the early game and even in the mid, and sometimes into the late game, depending on how the Hebo builds to kill him. Same thing goes with the Fenrir matchups. I said if Hel gets ahead and starts building armor, you're not going to be able to kill her. That's pretty much how it is. She'll just heal up your damage. Thor is really good against Isis because you could stun her Wind Gust out. But you can get silence out of your 3, but it doesn't even matter if you double hit her with your hammer and start hitting her a couple times, and then she'll be waiting to silence you as you're hitting her. So she'll just be kind of looking at you and maybe not even autoing, just trying to wait for your 3 to go off. So you just bait her like that, and then she'll silence you eventually just for the slow, and then you can start spinning because she has no way of jumping away. So you just keep autoing her, and you'll kill her eventually. Especially if you stun her out of her most damaging ability, which is her Wind Gust. Thor does really well against Janus because he could stun him and block him from walls. And if you block him from walls, he won't be able to get away with his portal. And he's really squishy. So Thor does a ton of damage. His poke is really good on him. And from my experience, Thor tends to do pretty well against Janus. And generally, assassin supports tend to do well against Janus. The next god's Kukulkan. a lot of people don't really play him too much in ranked at my level anymore, but when he was popular, Thor did pretty well against him because he's immune to knockbacks and knockups, so his ultimate wouldn't knock you up. I don't have too much experience with Nox, but I'm assuming that Nox would be pretty bad as of her current state. She is getting buffed. She does have a silence, so she could silence you out, but it's pretty easy to dodge if you're running around her. Nuwask, really hard for assassin supports to kill in general, because she has her clays to stun you and also block you. She has her fog to speed her up and make her stealth. So Nuwa's kind of hard. You can kill her, but she's definitely one of the harder mages to kill. It's not as bad as the Fenrir matchup, but it's close. Poseidon's pretty easy to kill as Thor as well too. If he has Kraken up though, he can kill you. But if you go like Aegis or something as a support, which is completely fine to go Aegis as a support, I'll go into that when I go over builds actually. But if he doesn't have Kraken, you're gonna kill him pretty much. Same thing with Hell. If Ra gets ahead, has a breastplate, he'll just out heal your damage. But if he does not, you'll kill him. Thor's pretty good against Scylla as well too, because you could poke her with your one, it might force her Sentinel out, which is her only way of escaping, and then you could ult onto her, and then spin, and then she's dead. And there's just a bunch of things you can do as Thor against Scylla. Like you can even go in behind, start autoing her, she'll Sentinel out, then she'll try to one you. You could hammer over her one and then kill her. Thor just does pretty well against Scylla. Vulcan's getting nerfed in the next patch. He hasn't got nerfed currently yet, but once Vulcan does get nerfed, Thor is going to do amazing against him because Thor already did okay against him, but Vulcan's Magma Bomb was able to peel him off because it was a stun. Now it's going to turn into only a knockback, so Thor won't be able to get stunned off him anymore, so Thor should do pretty well against him after the patch. Thor does already against Zeus. As long as Zeus doesn't get ahead, his Aegis shields actually give a lot of protection. It's kind of like Hell and Ra. If he gets ahead, he'll out damage you, but if he's not, you're going to be able to kill him every time easy. Thor isn't too good against Zhong. Zhong's tanky, and he also has his 3 Book of Demons, which is a stun. So Thor doesn't do too well against Zhong. And so if he's by a wave, he could also heal up with his 2. So that matchup is not the best. Alright, so we're going to the Hunters. Thor does amazing against AMC. AMC has no escape. He doesn't have enough burst until level 5. And even at level 5, his burst is not enough. Around level 9, when he starts getting a couple items, he can kill you. But even then, like in the mid game and early game, you're going to be killing AMC all the time. Once it hits late game, any Hunter is going to be able to kill you, but you're going to have your team to back you up. You're not going to be trying to 1v1 him. Next god's Honor. Thor does really well against Honor as well because his impales a knockback. So if you're spinning, when he impales you, he can't knock you back. So he's really good against Honor. And he could also just wait till he jumps and then you hammer, and then once he lands, you hammer to him, and then you start spinning instantly because he'll try to impale you away, and then there's no escape for him. Excuse me, sorry. The next god's Apollo. His Serenade, which is his Mez, can Mez you out of your 3, which is really strong against Thor. But once you get Magi's, it's kind of like a Fenrir type deal. Once you get Magi's, you can kill him, but that won't be until later in the game when he has a couple items. So it really depends how bad the Apollo is. Thor does really well against Artemis. Artemis can't really peel Thor off until she's level 5 with her Boar. But her Boar is an alt, which is a 90-second cooldown, so it's very hard for Artemis to peel Thor off consistently. So Thor is just going to do very well against Artemis. The next guy's Cupid. Thor does really well against Cupid. Cupid can kill Thor at level 5 because Cupid does have enough burst, but until Cupid has ult, Thor does really well, and if Cupid messes up on his ultimate and if he's pressured out when he has to ult, he's not going to be able to kill you, so Thor does pretty well against Cupid. And then same thing with the Isis. You just wait till Neith backflips. You just keep autoing her, and then you teleport, and then you start spinning once she backflips. You could even wait once she backflips for her to cast her spirit arrow, and then you could teleport over it, and then you won't even get hit by it at all, and then she won't have it to peel. Thor does really well against Rama. He has a roll, so you could wall that off, which blocks his rolling path, and he also doesn't have too much escape. So if you're in like a tight area and he rolls and you're spinning, you might catch up to him with your spin, especially if you have your boots done and he only has his devos done. Thor does good against Uller. Uller can kill him. It's kind of the same thing with Cupid, but you'll be able to put enough pressure on when he's clearing the wave where you can't really kill him. And then Xbalanque, Thor does great against Xbalanque. He has a spin, and then his Darkness of Nights doesn't really peel him off too well because it only stuns if he's not moving, and Thor could avoid that pretty easily. And for all hunters, once they hit the late game, they'll be able to kill you, but he tends to do good against everybody, really, except Apollo, because Apollo's stupid. Alright. Thank you for watching. Thank you for dealing with a couple of my word slip ups. Anyways, until next time, guys. Bye.